morning, YouTube. Paul here. This is the Thanksgiving long weekend 2018, and we decided to spend it at Charleston Lake Provincial Park. And right now I'd like to give you a tour of our campsite. Our campsite is number 276. It's a powered campsite with partial shade. And this is a fairly large site. You could park a fairly large trailer here. It's quite level. I'll just give you a quick little walk around here. Reasonably private. You can kind of see the other trailers and campers kind of through the woods here. But we're so far away from our neighbors that doesn't really matter. As you can see, the fire pit is more towards the back of the site. The site goes pretty far back. The replacement of the power hookup isn't the best for us. I would have liked to park the trailer a little further back here, but the power hookup is over there, so, and that's kind of the limit of our cord. One thing we were told about this campsite is that they do have a problem with raccoons, and as you'll see here on my car, there are raccoon paw prints all over the door. That's where the raccoon tried to get in there. Because we were aware that this would be a problem, we keep our food in a cooler inside our car, so and that's powered separately here. So we got our regular extension cord to power our cooler, and then the other cord to our trailer. And again, we keep our food in the car locked, because they obviously are clever enough to know how to open and unlock car. You can see they try to pull at that. And this is the last weekend that this campground is open. So we're all set and ready to go for packing up our trailer. We got our antifreeze there. And the weather today, it's not too bad. This weekend we're looking at just under 10 degrees this morning. It's above freezing. It's good. And what are you doing, Sally?
I'm looking at the map of the park.
Okay. So what's the plan for today?
I think we'll hike some of the trails.
Sounds good. Alright, let's do it. Okay, so we're going to start off with a nice hike. We're right here in this campground here. We're up and around here. So we're just going to hike up to here, and then there's a trail here to Quididi and Tallow Rock Bay trails. And then if we open up to the larger map here, so again we're in here, and then we're going to make our way to these trails here. Okay, so we started on our hike, and then it started pouring rain, but that didn't stop us. We just put our raincoats on, and we're here at the trailhead under the sign, so we can have a look here at what we're going to do. We're here in this parking lot area. This is a trailhead. This is like a parking area where you can park before you, if you want to, go at a further campsite. So yeah, we're just going to go up this trail, and then we're going to bear right onto the Quididi Trail, go to the lookout, and then yeah, just wander around, see what we can see.
And I think we'll hold off on this 10-kilometer trail until
this
rain lets up, right?
Yeah, that'll be on a nice. That's a nice day trail.
Yeah.
Okay, after you.
Okay, let's go.
Beautiful boardwalk, yes. Okay, so we've come up to a fork in the trail. I guess if we continue this way, that's the trail that we were looking at, the Quiddity Trail, the lookout. That's a 1 kilometer. And then there's also a Tallow Rock Bay Loop Trail. Doesn't really say how long it is.
I think it's 10 kilometers.
Is it the Tallow Rock Bay?
That's at the beginning of the trail.
Okay, so we're just going to do the short one today because of the weather and time constraints and whatnot. All right. Yeah. The way to the lookout. This must be a portage trail for canoers. It's starting to get a little muddy here now, eh? This looks like a point where a canoeist would land their canoe and portage that trail that we saw. And I guess our trail continues over this bridge. Pretty good workout, eh? Yeah. Okay. Sign says Quiddity Lookout is this way, and there's no trail beyond this point.
Oh, wow.
So you have to go back the way we came. So the rain let up and we made it up to the lookout, and as you can see, it is quite a sight to behold. You can see right across the lake here we have looks like a beach and a canoe rental over here. Not too many people out on the beach today, and the fall colors are starting.
I think they said 60%.
60%, yeah. It'd be nice if it was a little further along, but unfortunately this park's not open after this weekend. Alright, guess I'll head back.
Yep.
So this is just for future reference for myself and anyone else who's interested. This site here is site number 254. And site 254 isn't all that private. It is an electric site though, so there's a hookup there. But what is special about this site is, if you look down where Sally's standing, you can launch your own canoe right from this site. So I think this is a site I'd like to book next, is one of these sites where you can, because I would have liked to have brought the canoe this weekend, but we weren't sure if the weather would cooperate. And so far, hasn't been really great canoeing weather. So, but next year, definitely. Site 254. So the weather's been really cooperating with us well today. It hasn't rained for a bit, so we decided to look at the other two trails at this provincial park. We're at the point here at the trailhead of both these trails. One is over there, that's the Beechwoods Trail, And this one here is called the Hemlock Ridge Trail. We're going to do this one first, and Sally, why don't you tell us a bit about this trail?
Sure. It is a 1.7 kilometer loop that meanders along a ridge of majestic hemlocks and a low-lying beaver meadow, and through deciduous forest and fractured sandstone crevices and rock facies. These different and varied habitats support a number of fascinating plant and animal species, and the numbered posts along the trail correspond to interesting features described in the accompanying trail guide, which is this, which you can find right there.
Right.
And be careful when passing through the rock crevices along the trail, which are especially slippery when wet, which we learned this morning.
Yeah. So this is interesting here because they do offer trail guides here.
Which is neat because we've never had that at any other provincial parks, right? So
yeah, that makes a nice souvenir too if you want to keep it. It's only 50 cents. That's a good deal.
it is. It's a great deal.
All right. So, and it looks like no bikes are allowed on this trail here.
Nope, they're too rugged.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with no further ado,
Let's go.
let's go. Introduction. This 2-kilometer trail is not strenuous, but short sections are rough or damp underfoot. It should take you between 1 and 1.5 hours to hike. Numbered posts along the trail will help you find the features described in this guide. You should take insect repellent with you and wear sturdy shoes. If you cannot identify poison ivy, avoid it by staying on the trail. We hope you enjoy your hike. If you have any questions or comments, one of the park naturalists will be happy to help you. All right. All right. Okay. So we're going to do post number 1. Kind of blends in with everything too, eh? Post number 1. The setting. Charleston Lake Provincial Park lies within the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Forest region, an area in which the rich deciduous forests of eastern United States meet and mingle with Canada's northern or boreal forests. Over 50 species of trees can be found growing within this forest region. Most of them occur at Charleston Lake. Learning how to tell them apart can be a difficult and bewildering task. This trail will help you learn how to recognize some of the more common species. There's a little map you got there. All right, on to number 2. Okay, what do we got here?
Number 2, shagbark hickory. Its ragged gray bark and its mantle of lime green, droopy leaves are distinctive features which can easily help you identify it. It is commonly found in the deciduous forests to the south. Here at Charleston Lake Provincial Park, it is near the northern limit of its range. Several southern plants are able to grow in this area as a result of the moderating effect of Lake Ontario on an otherwise potentially cold climate. At Charleston Lake, it appears that shagbark hickory is just within range of its tolerance for cold.
All right, on to the next one.
On to the next one.
This is here for number 3. Post 3, Eastern Hemlock.
Oh, probably these back here, right?
Yeah. The dark forest of Eastern Hemlock before you speaks quietly of a time when early land surveyors found an abundance of pure hemlock stands, such as this one, throughout the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Forest region. The existence of this isolated pocket can be explained by its location on the park's rocky landscape. Charleston Lake Provincial Park lies on the eastern edge of the Frontenac axis, the southern extension of the Canadian Shield. Here, soils are shallow and unproductive for farming. Few settlers were tempted to clear this land for farms. Eastern hemlock is a slow-growing and long-lived tree. One of the oldest eastern hemlock trees in North America has been aged at 988 years old. Many of the trees around here are around 100 years old. So, I think we found post 4, Sally.
Okay.
And it says here, discouraging the competition. Look around you. Notice that very few plants grow beneath the hemlock forest. Why is this? First, the forest floor is deeply shaded throughout the year. Second, the forest floor is very dry. Mature hemlock have shallow root systems that spread like nets to soak up all the surface moisture they can. Third, hemlock needles are rich in tannic acid. When the needles fall and decompose, the soil becomes as acidic as vinegar. Hemlock needles also contain aluminum, which is toxic to many plants. These conditions prevent many other trees and flowering plants from becoming established beneath the hemlock stand. Plants that do grow here are adapted to the special conditions found beneath hemlock. These plants include partridge berry, gold thread, Canada mayflower, and the world or sharp-leaved aster, a plant which at Charleston Lake is at the western limit of its main growth range. So that would be all these guys back in here. Okay. Post 5, taking root. Hemlock seedlings have a difficult time becoming established. Their tiny root systems are unable to penetrate the thick layer of decaying needles on the forest floor, and the soil is too dry to provide them with the moisture that they need. As a result, hemlock seedlings are seldom successful in becoming established on the forest floor. Instead, they are most often found on decayed and rotten logs, like the one before you. Oh yeah, this guy over here, I guess. These logs are free of large accumulators of decaying needles and provide a moist, nutrient-rich environment for the young seedlings to grow. All about hemlocks. Okay, Sally, tell us about post 6.
Okay, it's Baton Rouge. The trim, cone-shaped trees you see here are eastern red cedar. Like shagbark hickory, they are more common in southern forests. In fact, the capital of the Gulf state of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, was named after this tree. Baton Rouge meaning red stick. Growing here at the northern limit of its range, eastern red cedar faces demanding climatic conditions. As a result, it grows best on warm sites like this rock outcrop. Even here, it will never reach the size it might further set.
Alright.
And that is number 6.
Alright. On to number 7. So we're almost walking right along a cliff here. Look at that, eh? Beautiful landscape. Yeah, each one's different.
This one doesn't really have the leaves like the last one.
So all the hemlocks. Yeah, looks like they built in some steps on this trail. Have here.
Number 7. Probably in the inside. A drowned forest. Trees like silver maple, American elm, and black ash grow in low-lying sites such as this. They can tolerate occasional periods of flooding. This lowland forest is a victim of the family of beavers. Water from spring runoff and summer rains have been trapped behind a beaver dam. These trees now stand in 1.5 meters of water. Beavers flourish on the park's landscape of ridges and narrow valleys. Over the years, dams have caused many lowland forests within the park to become flooded and altered. In this drowned forest, no tree will survive. Young trees will die within a year, and older trees will die within 2 or 3 years. Interesting.
All right. How many more do we have left? All right, that was number 7. Post number 8. This one's called the Forest Shuffle. Okay, and it says here, the tree before you is red oak. It is a relative newcomer to this forest region. To some extent, the present distribution of all trees throughout Canada reflects the ability of various trees to migrate after the retreat of the last continental glacier 10,000 years ago. There were 3 types of migrants. First came the fast travelers of trees whose seeds are easily dispersed by the wind: black and white spruce, larch, white birch, poplars, and willows, all of the trees that are now crowding the northern tree limit. Next came those with less easily transported seeds: the pines, the maples, and the basswoods, all of the species that are not quite as adaptable to colder climates. Last are the trees which venture only into the more temperate areas: oaks, hickories, walnuts, butternuts, and American beech, the trees that depend on animals to spread their heavy seeds. Okay, that's post number 8. And let's go. Yeah, so what do you find here? Alright, do you want to tell us all about it?
So it's called the strip maple. As the trail winds in and out of these large boulders, look for a small tree whose bark is marked by long vertical greenish white stripes. This attractive tree is called the strip maple. Strip maple is found throughout the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence Forest region. Its distribution, however, is limited and is rarely found off the Canadian Shield. Strip maple grows best on cool, well-drained, moist soils. These conditions are often found in deep valleys or on northern slopes where other trees such as sugar maple provide plenty of shade. Most stripped maples exist as seedlings on the forest floor. There they can wait for up to 35 years for a gap in which to grow. Number 9.
Number 9. Carry on. You like that, eh? You like that, eh? Yeah. Your trail marker's right up here.
Is it up here?
Yeah. Climb through these rocks.
Up through here?
Look up. Look up. It's like a trail cut through the rocks.
We got a photo in here.
You like that? Alright.
But you gotta be careful.
Oh look, there's the next post.
Where?
Right ahead.
You want to take a photo in here first?
How about you read?
This is number... What number is this? Number 10 is faded.
Number 10. Did we do number 9?
Oh yeah, we did it back there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
What was number 9?
Yeah, strip maple. We did number 9.
Yeah.
Number 10, yellow birch. The tree in front of you and the tree growing out of the cliff face behind you is yellow birch. It is an important member of the Great Lakes forest region, as well as deciduous forest region further south. Like hemlock, the tiny root systems of the yellow birch seedlings are unable to penetrate the thick layer of decaying leaves on the forest floor. As a result, yellow birch trees are often found growing on moist, decaying, and rotted logs where leaves seldom accumulate. However, all along the cliff face, yellow birch has found an alternative nursery. Here in the cliff's moist-lined cracks and crevices, the seedlings are able to obtain just enough moisture and nutrients to become established. Watch for them as you walk along this portion of the trail. This is like the most interesting trail I think we've been on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Let me do a photo. Watch your step. Yeah. It's almost like we're mountain climbing. Oh, you missed the post.
I gotta take off a layer though, Paul.
Okay, what's the number on this one here?
Number 11.
Okay, maybe I'll read this one.
I'm getting too warm.
Let me open this up. Our handy dandy trail guide. Number 11. Mature hardwoods, right here. To your left lies a hardwood forest. Mature trees of sugar maple, white ash, and American beech. A variety of tree sizes in the understory, and a rich growth of flowering plants on the forest floor all suggest that these woods have been undisturbed for some time. The sugar maple is the dominant character in this forest. A prolific producer of seed, it ensures that any fallen tree is replaced by at least one of the many thousands of sugar maple seeded annually. A lifespan of up to 400 years ensures its tenure for some time to come. The richness of this hardwood forest lies in stark contrast to the hemlock forest seen earlier along the trail. That is because conditions here are more favorable for plant growth. First, Canada goose. First, it is a moist environment. Second, sugar maple, through the breakdown of its leaves, which it loses every fall, provides one of the richest of forest soils. That's it, eh?
I had to take off 2 layers. That was a good hike. Look at it. My sweater and my jacket.
All right.
You're not getting warm?
I'm getting a little warm.
Okay. What number was that? 11?
Yeah, it was 11.
Okay, this is a little tricky.
All right. Well, don't fall.
Wow.
Keep your balance. You should have brought along your hiking stick. Should have brought your. Yep. Should have brought your hiking stick. But you're doing all right. Oh, you're right. It is slippery here. Yeah. Next time we'll bring our walking sticks.
Actually, we have them in our trailer, don't we?
I know. Well, they make it a lot easier.
I think this is a...
Well, I don't think wheelchairs would be recommended. Yeah. This is the most interesting trail I've been on this year. Yeah. Rock and roll. I wouldn't recommend running this trail either.
Or riding your bike.
Or riding your bike.
We should ride our bikes. We had no idea, right? I don't think. I think biking is only along the campgrounds. I don't think there's any biking trails here. Okay. That was
Alright.
probably one of the most difficult parts there, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful how you step in the rock.
Yeah, you don't want to twist an ankle.
No.
Or fall.
What's that?
Or fall.
Yeah, it's warming up for sure. Or working out hard. Or both. You want a picture of us standing like underneath?
This would be a neat picture, eh?
Like right here?
Sure. There we go. Oh, Sally,
What?
where are you going?
Oh, I'm thinking, how am I going to fit through there? Show everyone I was going to try to fit through there. I'm like, what the heck?
You could probably do it.
I could probably do it, but
Keep going through
the
that.
majority of the population, I don't know. Look at it. I'm like, what the hell?
Like, how am I going to squeeze through there?
Well, I would have noticed, right, once I got closer to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a tip for anyone watching these videos. Pay attention to these blue trail markers, because you'll think that you got to keep going straight when you come out of.
Because it looks like it's the path.
Well, it looks
right?
like a continuation of the crevice that we just came out of.
I'm thinking, what am I getting myself into?
Pay attention. So get stuck in the.
Oh my god.
Okay, this way.
Watch the slippery rocks too.
Okay. Okay, I think Sally's found the last post.
Okay, this is number 12. It's called hop hornbeam. It's commonly called ironwood. Is a common tree of the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence Forest. Notice that it is more abundant here than anywhere else along the trail. Why is that? Cattle once grazed these forest-eating sugar maple seedlings and young saplings, but avoided the hop hornbeam. Once grazing stopped, the young hop hornbeam matured. These are the trees you now see around you. Hop hornbeam is a short-lived tree, and with time will be replaced by trees such as sugar maple and white ash.
All right.
There's also a conclusion, but we can read that at the end of the trail.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read the conclusion here as we finish the last leg of this trail. Along the trail, you have had the opportunity to learn about a few trees common to Charleston Lake Provincial Park. They represent less than half of the total number of tree species found throughout the park. We invite you to explore more of the park's forest. Your travels will take you from the isolated peat bog where northern black spruce grows to the park's highest point, Blue Mountain, where the southern pitch pine can be found. We hope that you have enjoyed your walk. If you do not wish to keep this trail guide, please deposit it in the box for others to use. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you all about the Beech Woods Trail. The Beech Woods Trail is a 1.8 kilometer loop that passes through mature beech forest, open oak sedge meadows, tall hardwood forest, and a small pocket of stately white pine. These varied and diverse habitats support a tremendous level of biodiversity, including many trees, shrubs, birds, amphibians, dragonflies, and butterflies, some of which you may be able to see or hear. Number of posts along the trail correspond to interesting features described in the accompanying trail guide. Well,
they're out of it for this one, looks like.
Yeah, I don't see any trail guide down this one. Be aware that the trail is seasonally wet in places. Okay. All right.
Which I've already learned because I stepped in mud and I almost slipped.
That's awesome.
Don't forget your camera bag.
All right, with no further ado, let's go. Okay, so there's some sort of a sign here. Yeah, life in the shadows. The forest floor is cast in shade for 4 to 5 months of the year. The overhead leaves of the deciduous trees intercept most of the incoming sunlight. This makes the forest floor darker, cooler, and moister than the rest of the forest. This benefits the animals found on the forest floor. So they tell us here that we have the eastern chipmunk. The log stumps and rocky outcrops of the forest floor provide lots of cover and hiding places for this very active mammal. The chipmunk also has an underground burrow where it stores its food. The ovenbird, those are those little birds that you saw on the other trail.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
This common forest songbird builds its nest right on the ground. It makes a dome-shaped nest out of leaves, which is well hidden in the thick leaf litter of the forest floor. And then there's the yellow spotted salamander. It is a reptile. This large salamander, 10 to 25 centimeter, often lives underground or under logs and leaf litter of the forest floor. It needs cover because it's sensitive to drying out, as it's a type of amphibian, always not a lizard, that lives on land most of its adult life. So we were wrong. All right, let's go make some more mistakes. So this looks like they've done this on this trail instead of the guide.
Yeah, which is good. That's okay.
Life in between in the forest understory. The forest understory is the in-between layer below the leaves of the canopy but above the forest floor. It's comprised of shrubs, younger trees, and big tree trunks of the taller trees. It is heavily shaded by the leaf cover above, but is more open than the dense foliage of the canopy. So here we can see the animals. The red-shouldered hawk, although it's the most common hawk of the park, it is usually shy and secretive while nesting. It builds its nest below the canopy, more than halfway up a mature tree, in the lower crotch of the main trunk. Then we have flying squirrels. It's more common than you'd think. It's nocturnal, so it's rarely seen. A flying squirrel usually nests in old woodpecker cavity nests in deciduous trees in the forest understory. It can't actually fly, but rather glides. Then we have the yellow-bellied sapsucker. This woodpecker is a keystone species of the forest, as its old cavity nests become homes for many birds and mammals. The sapsucker also drills sap wells, rows of small holes in trees to feed on the sap, which numerous animals also feed from. So I guess that's why woodpeckers peck at trees, make those holes. Not quite as interesting as the last trail, but yeah, yes, it's not quite as awesome, but it's definitely pretty. Yeah. What do we got here, Sally? Oh, well, quite a view here too. Right?
In the forest canopy. So it's the tree tops meld and form a continuous canopy of leaves over the forest. This thick and leafy roof layer is used by animals that like lots of sun, a high vantage point, and the abundance of food. Example of leaves and leaf-eating insects available at the top of the forest. So there's porcupines. Spends most of the time high in a tree, resting or feeding. Porcupines are expert tree climbers with strong arm and leg muscles, wide feet with friction pads on the soles, long curved claws for gripping, and stiff bristles under the tail to prevent back slipping. And then there's the scarlet tanager.
Tanager?
Yeah, do you want to read it?
Scarlet tanager. The stunning breeding male scarlet tanager is common here, but not often seen despite its dazzling colors. It spends most of its time high in the forest canopy, hidden in the leaves, devouring insects. Then there's a dog-day cicada.
Yeah.
The male makes a loud droning sound broadcasted widely from high up in the trees. Only the males of this insect call from mid-July to September in order to attract females. So it shows their actual size here, which is kind of cool. And yeah, we won't be hearing any of those now. This is October. Yeah. I do have to say that this part of the trail is even prettier than the first part. It gets better as we get further in. Is it? Let's have a quick look. What does it say? I'll read it. Life on the edge. In the forest clearing. Forests are often not a continuous wall of trees. They tend to have small open clearings like this one here. Without trees overhead, these clearings are much sunnier, hotter, and have more ground plants than the surrounding forest. Such open concept living is important for a number of animals. For instance, there are butterflies. Butterflies like sunny places with lots of wildflowers to feed on. That's why few are found inside the forest, but they can be numerous in forest clearings and along forest edges. Some of the most common are the small orange and black crescent butterflies. And then there's meadowhawks. Look like a dragonfly to me. Oh, they are. These small dragonflies are quite numerous, often perch on the tips of vegetation and feeding in open sunny areas away from water. Adult males are bright red and black, while females and immature males are yellow and black. Oh, and then there's rat snakes. I thought it said rattlesnakes at first. So, although they spend a fair bit of time in trees, rat snakes prefer edge habitat where the forest meets a meadow, wetland, or rocky outcrop. They need these open areas to sunbathe, to thermoregulate. These edge habitats also tend to have more prey to hunt. All right. Yeah. Another instance where you gotta look for the trail markers. Yeah, don't get a soaker.
It's starting to rain again a bit, eh? Like a light rain.
Yeah, it's just starting.
Yeah.
I think we'll make it back in time.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so me and Sally did a lot of hiking today. So it's time for us to relax this evening and enjoy our dinner and crack open a cold one. I'm going to try this double IPA, St. Ambrose. It's a strong beer. It's an IPA, which I like. And what are you having over there, Sally?
I'm having a Rickard's Radler grapefruit.
Nice refreshing drink.
After 3 trails, sure.
All right. And a barbecue. Cheers.
Cheers. I just don't like it warm.
Yesterday was a pretty good day. We hiked up this trail here to the Quiddity. We didn't do the full Tullow Rock Bay trails because that was too long for us, but we did go to that lookout. And then we came down here, we did the Beech Woods Trail, and we did the Hemlock Ridge Trail. So what we'd like to do today is we're going to hop on our bikes and we're going to ride down to the other end of this park, and we're going to check out the Sandstone Island and Shoreline trails. Okay, ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right. Bikes are ready. Let's go. Lots of campground up here.
We are going to hike these trails.
Okay. It is. It's one of my favorite parks. Yeah. Okay, so we made it. We're here at the head of Sandstone Island Trail. There is a trail guide here that we're going to make use of and talk about this trail on our hike. And I'll I'll do the little reading here. More than 300 million years before the age of dinosaurs, ancient seas covered much of North America. Their beaches form the sandstone deposits of today. Follow this 3.3 kilometer, 2-mile trail as it explores one of these ancient beaches. Along the way you will pass a prehistoric native rock shelter, a turn-of-the-century homestead, and a beautiful lookout over Charleston Lake. Number posts along the trail will help you find the geological and historical features described in the trail guide. This looks fantastic. This looks gorgeous. Okay, let's do this trail.
Let's go.
Yeah, if it's anything like yesterday's trail, that would make sense.
Yeah, because it's pretty rugged. I think this is a moderate trail, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I thought that's what I read.
Could be. Introduction. This 2.6 kilometer trail is not strenuous, but short sections are steep, rough, or damp underfoot. It should take you between 1.5 and 2 hours to hike. Number posts along the trail will help you find the features described in this guide. You should take insect repellent with you and wear sturdy shoes. If you can't identify poison ivy, avoid it by staying on the trail. We hope that you will enjoy your hike. If you have any questions or comments, one of the park naturalists will be happy to talk with you. Have fun. This is really neat, eh?
Oh my god, yeah.
All these rocks behind us.
I've never seen hiking trails like this.
This is pretty fantastic.
Oh, not much room to walk beside you.
Not much room to maneuver through these trails, eh?
No.
Look where we're going.
It reminds me of yesterday's trail though, the one trail.
It does, eh? You want to go ahead?
Yeah,
oh.
Oh my god, this is awesome.
That's post 3, Sally. Sandstone Island. These two large boulders are massive slabs of sandstone. They have broken away from the cliffs which lie just beyond the trees. The cliffs form the edge of the Sandstone Island, a giant block of sandstone which rests on the older rocks of the Canadian Shield. Much of the sandstone in northern Ontario lies deeply buried beneath younger rocks and glacial deposits, but along the eastern flank of the Frontenac axis, occasional outcrops of sandstone occur. These have survived millions of years of erosion and offer a rare insight into an important chapter in Ontario's Earth history. Follow this trail as it skirts the edge of Sandstone Island and climb to its surface. You'll see how the island was formed and how it has been changed by glaciers, weathering, and humans. Alright, let's carry on. Alright, I'm going to read the story here. Post 2, The Contact. The story of Sandstone Island's formation begins here at the Contact. Look up the hill. The crumbling orange rock under the gray layers of sandstone and conglomerate is billion-year Precambrian granite, part of the Canadian Shield. The granite was surface bedrock here 480 million years ago when the Paleozoic seas first invaded North America. Layers of sediment collected along the beaches of these seas to eventually cover the granite. These sediments hardened to become conglomerate and sandstone. They form the overhang here and make up the whole of Sandstone Island. Where these younger rocks touch the ancient granite, two geological eras come together. This is the contact. No trace remains of the half-a-billion-year gap between one layer and the next. Alright. Let's go find post number 3. Alright, let's go have a look. Yeah, that can be hard to see. This looks neat. This is really cool. This is like out of a storybook, eh? Want me to read number 3? Paleozoic seas began to cross the ancient continent of North America 480 million years ago. As these extensive seas developed, their advancing coastal waters reworked the rock and primitive soils of the Precambrian Shield, mixing stones and small boulders together with sand. Over millions of years, these beach deposits hardened into stone. Now they form the walls and roof of the rock shelter ahead of you. The walls are composed entirely of small rounded boulders, cobbles, pebbles, and sand. Geologists call this type of rock formation conglomerate, meaning come together and harden. The bottom layer of Sandstone Island is made entirely of conglomerate. The cap rock above is composed of sandstone that formed from beach deposits or pure sand. It is referred to as Nepean sandstone, named after the thick sandstone beds found near Ottawa in Nepean, Ontario. Nepean sandstone forms the upper layer of Sandstone Island. Alright.
This might be my favorite trail.
Beautiful, eh? Yeah. Got some pictures too. Okay. Hold on, let me get the paper. Let me tell you all about post number 4.
I've never been in a trail like this before.
Post number 4 is called the rock shelter. The bottom conglomerate layer weathers more easily than the solid sandstone cap rock above it. Water seeps into cracks and air spaces between the pebbles and small boulders. When it freezes and expands, stones and larger slabs of rock are loosened and fall to the ground. Thousands of years of alternate freezing and thawing have hollowed out this case between the resistant overhang cap rock and the Precambrian granite beneath the floor. This process may have been accelerated by wave action when lake levels were higher or by flowing glacial meltwaters. And you walked right by post number 5.
Where's it? Oh, I can't believe. Oh my god.
Do you want to read it or do you want me to?
You can read. I gotta do something on my
Okay.
something here.
Post 5 is called the campsite. This cave has been here for at least 2,000 years. Through the centuries, wandering groups of people have taken temporary shelter here from the wind, rain, and cold. They left evidence of their passing. Pieces of pottery, bone, tools, and the remains of a fire pit tell us that a band of prehistoric hunters camped here 1,200 years ago. A musket ball, gun flint, and metal buckle were left here 300 years ago. Did these more recent articles belong to the Europeans or the native people? Hunters or warriors? The answer is part of the mystery of this rock shelter, which was the first archaeological site of its kind to be discovered in Ontario.
I was looking down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta really wear good hiking boots on these trails.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what do we got here?
Number 6.
Would you like to read it?
Sure.
It's called Ancient Beaches.
Alternate periods of calm and storm helped shape the ancient Paleozoic beaches. Layers of sand accumulated when gentle waves washed fine materials along the shore. Layers of fist-sized cobbles piled up when storm waves pushed stones and rocks onto the beach. A record of these changing periods of calm and storm is now preserved in the rocks of Sandstone Island. An excellent illustration can be seen in the layers of the beach sediments that make up the cliff face ahead of you through the trees.
Well, it's this cliff face right here. Okay, Sally, what have you found?
Post 7.
Okay, let's hear about post number 7. It's called Sifted Sands. Take a look at this cliff face. Can you see the fine horizontal lines running through the sandstone? These dark purple lines are thin bands of garnet. Small waves sift through sand so that lighter materials are washed away, leaving a layer of heavier grains, like these garnets behind. This phenomenon is called sorting and occurs on all sand beaches. Look for it the next time you visit one. Notice that some of the dark sands come together in a V shape. Geologists call this feature cross bedding. The layers slant in different directions because of variations in the direction and size or energy of the waves of the beach. This cross-bedding indicates that this ancient beach was formed in quiet, shallow water. What do we got here, Sally? Post number 8.
Good photo will be right here.
Yeah, we'll do that. But let me read about post 8. It's windy here.
I love it.
Okay, there's post 8. It says, look up at the semicircular depression in the face of this cliff. What do you think caused it? I'm looking for it. This feature was probably formed very recently, within the last 10,000 years, probably towards the end of the last ice age. During the last glacial period, this ice filled what is now Charleston Lake and pressed up against the cliffs where you have been walking. The glacier completely covered Sandstone Island. When temperatures rose and the ice began to melt, water was probably funneled across the top Sandstone Island and the edge of the glacier to this spot where it plunged over the crest of the cliff. The waterfall was active for probably a short period of time, just long enough to carve this semicircular bowl.
Right here.
Alright, let's do a picture right there. Smile. Good workout, eh?
Oh, yeah.
So you don't want to turn right here.
No.
You want to go left. Look, it's post number 9. Post 9 is called the Lookout. You are now on top of Sandstone Island. 24 meters, 80 feet above the surface of the lake. From here, you get a good view of the largest stretch of open water on Charleston Lake. It's almost 60 meters, 200 feet deep in the middle of the big waters. Charleston Lake is studded with islands. The larger one to your right is Crozier's Island, a small outlet of Nepean sandstone, similar to the one you're standing on, is also found there. Number 9. It's pretty spectacular as you walk along this trail and you see the edge of it drop off just like that.
That's where they have that border.
Yeah. I think we're on number 10. And this is called the Boulders. Okay. It says, those house-side boulders below were once part of Sandstone Island. How did they get there? Beneath your feet, the cliffs are very much like those near the beginning of the trail. Thousands of years of freezing and thawing have hollowed out the conglomerate layer, creating a cave similar to the rock shelter at Post 4. As the cave became deeper, the overhang became larger. Eventually, the sheer weight of the sandstone roof caused it to fall, and great slabs to the ground below. The overhang came away from the cliff along planes of weakness or joints, fragile seams running through the rock. The sandstone here is crisscrossed by many such joints all along the perimeter of Sandstone Island. Rock is weathering and falling away, leaving the edges of the island strewn in rubble. The homestead. Oh, so there was a house here.
Yeah, you can tell.
This must be the foundation.
Yeah.
In the mid-1800s, part of Charleston Lake Provincial Park was settled by Hugh Running, an Irish immigrant newly arrived in Canada. By 1899, 3 of Hugh's sons were homesteading in the area. Running family homesteads were built along the east shore of Runnings Bay, where the campgrounds are now located, and here on top of Sandstone Island. These stone foundations were built by Hugh's son, William Running, at the turn of the century. William lived here with his wife, Daisy, and 4 children. They grazed cattle, raised a few turkeys, planted apple trees, fished, sold wild berries, and made maple syrup in order to scrape a meager living from this marginal farmland. Wood frame houses, heated by stoves, were common then. In the winter, When wood stoves blazed constantly, many houses burned to the ground, including William and Dacey's. So that's what happened here. Number 13. This is the pillars. The Frontenac Axis is a beautiful country, but it's terrible farmland. The spring runoff sits on the ground until midsummer, and glaciation left the soil too shallow and stony to grow crops. By the time the runnings arrived here, most of the good farmland in the area had been taken. Like his father and brothers, William had to learn another trade to support his family. He was a stonemason and built these pillars on either side of the road leading to his home. In 1912, after 13 years here, William and Dacey left this homestead, taking their few possessions, including 6 cows, with them. They moved to a better farm along the St. Lawrence River, where there was more work for a stonemason. William's son, Chester, took over the family's farm, but after 1 year, he sold the homestead to a neighbor and followed his parents down the road between the pillars. So, do we have, looks like maybe they were knocked over, eh?
Yeah, I don't see anything.
That was probably, oh yeah, there's still evidence here that they were,
Is there?
at one time a little higher than that.
Okay.
What'd you find here? Somebody's been busy.
Yeah. Maybe the bears.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm going to read about post 14 here as we come down this hill.
Yeah.
Post 14 is called the Changing Forest. The past 100 years have seen dramatic changes in the forest on Sandstone Island. In William Running's day, most of the forest was cleared. The only trees left were a few maples for syrup making and elms for shade. With purchases in 1951 and 1952, the entire peninsula on which Sandstone Island sits was bought by Professor J.J.E. Child, an avid naturalist. He and his wife fenced the land to keep neighboring cattle out, planted thousands of evergreen seedlings, and began to watch the forest return. In 1965, they sold their property to the Government of Ontario as part of a new provincial park. No cattle have grazed on Sandstone Island for over 30 years. And today, a young forest is well on its way. Eventually, the old field where you are standing will disappear amid the new growth. Post 15, the trail's end. Look up at the cliffs. You're back at the foot of Sandstone Island. Along the trail, you have seen granite, ancient sand, and boulder beaches, and the path of a glacier, the long, slow shaping of the landscape. Then the brief centuries since people arrived here, a prehistoric campsite, an old homestead, and a new forest, the changing face of Sandstone Island. The history of Sandstone Island is just one of the many stories to discover here at Charleston Lake. We hope that you have enjoyed your walk. If you do not wish to keep this trail guide, please leave it in the deposit box for others to use. Thank you. I'm going to keep this one too. Okay, so the second trail we're doing today is the Shoreline Trail. The Shoreline Trail winds 2 kilometers along the scenic Charleston Lake shoreline and through some rugged park terrain. The vistas of rocky shoreline, islands, and windswept pine are striking, and you have the chance to see wildlife such as a loon, osprey, or a basking turtle. So.
And it's 2 kilometers, moderate difficulty.
Moderate difficulty. Several short steep climbs, a lovely lakeside picnic site. We didn't bring a picnic basket, sadly. Seasonally wet in places and sturdy footwear recommended.
You should have brought a picnic lunch.
Yes, so we'll leave our bikes here, and that's neat, eh? A boardwalk? Very rugged land, that's for sure. Yeah. Looks like we're walking up along a ridge here now. So this looks like another hemlock forest. We learned about that on that trail yesterday. see, there's washrooms everywhere. Behind this tree, behind that tree. Yeah. Wow, look at that, eh? Look how that just drops off down into there. Yeah. Every time I see a warning sign, oh my goodness, look at this. Every time I see a warning sign, I think somebody's done that. Wow, eh? Look at this. Doesn't get better than this. Just gonna go here and film this a little bit. Yeah. This would be a lot of fun to take a canoe into and explore. Well, I mean today, but it'd be nice to explore it. Yeah? Yeah? What a change, eh? It's like you're in a fairy book story. Doesn't even feel like our own country. Feels like we're in some ancient, magical land. Yeah, we'll make more use of it next year. Back the way we came. To standing hip to hip, walking through the wilderness. Sure. That is so cool. Ow. Told you, it's going for a hike. Okay. Sure. Just a minute. I'm getting this guy. So that was a pretty full day of hiking. And so me and Sally, we put on our last campfire of the season. It's burning pretty good. And so we're closing this one out with I'm going to have a bone shaker Indian Pale Ale. What are you drinking, Sally?
Bud Light Apple.
Bud Light Apple. And Nick's joining us here too on our last day. What are you having, Nick?
Some good old Laker.
Some good old Laker. So we're going to end this season with our last campfire and a beer around the campfire. Cheers to all of you watching us. And look forward to tomorrow, and we'll do our review. Cheers. Mr. Bluejay setting the alarm. So this concludes our camping trip here to Charleston Lake Provincial Park. As you can see, we got the bumper sticker. And this also concludes our season of camping. This is the last trip that we take each year, the Thanksgiving long weekend in Canada. And as far as I'm concerned, I would give this campground a perfect score of 5 out of 5. The campsites themselves are generously large, reasonably private, and level, and the beaches are good. There's 2 nice beaches here. It would be great to try them out in the warm weather. The trails, there's lots of trails. We didn't even go on all the trails. I think we
went on 5 of them, and I think there's a couple more.
I think there's a couple more that we didn't do, longer ones. So you could spend a week up here easily hiking the trails. They have a good repeatability factor, meaning that you could go on the same trail again and again and have a different experience every time. Yeah, so I would give this campground a perfect score of 5 out of 5. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'd give it a 5.
And you, Sally?
Yep.
And did I mention the washrooms and showers?
Well, if you didn't, they're clean. They're good.
Yeah, the water was clean and hot in the showers, and they're, clean showers, hot water, clean bathrooms. What more do you want? This was great. So yeah, that's it for us this season. We'll see you next year.